Hello friends, we are on to day 14 and 15 of our wine kit, so we're going to break that into two parts. Day 14 is racking over, and the first thing you want to do is get your gear together. So today you're going to need your carboy, as well as a racking cane and your tubing, an airlock and a bung, and also some sort of degassing or stirring implement. I was all set to pop off my lid and have a dramatic reveal to see if there was any Kreuzen or wine scuzz. But with white wines, that's not usually you get, so I honestly really didn't have much to show off. Sometimes you might see kind of like a slight bubbly film there or even on the top of the lid. But that's actually pretty normal. It's just splashback bubbling, Kreuzen, a general kind of scuzz that can at times form during the fermentation process. Extra thanks, of course, go to my rockin' hubby who helped me lift this 6 gallons worth of alcohol up onto the countertop because there's no way I could have done that by myself. So there is my 5-gallon carboy. It's a nice solid glass. I've already sterilized it and the rest of my equipment. I've kind of got it sitting in the sink. So here's the racking cane. It's a 2-part kind of pump gravity system that you use. You'll see when we get down into it that it's honestly really fairly easy to use. Everything's still a little bit wet from the sanitizer, but that is actually just what you want. And just one moment to get this all assembled. We're now more or less ready to start racking our wine over from our fermentation bucket to our carboy. By putting the end of the cane in there, and you can't see a very good view of it, but you're just pumping the internal system. That's going to force the liquid up and through the tube into the carboy. Now we're basically just on a gravity feed to get everything in. I forgot to get some of the wine set apart to take a hydrometer reading, so that's just what we're doing here. It's a good way that you can kind of tell what the end level of the alcohol is going to be. Just get enough to fill the beaker a little bit, and then we're back to filling. At this point, I wanted to give you an idea of what the yeast cake looks like. If you see all the liquid in the bottom there, that is a mistake that I will address in part 2. But as you can see, there's kind of a muddy, sandy sort of yuck on the bottom. Now, that's your yeast cake. It's what happens when you do fermentation. It's dead yeast, different kind of proteins, everything that's left behind when we rack over, so we get a cleaner start. The next step that we're going to do is going ahead and adding the chemicals needed to clarify the process. The first one is potassium metabisulphite. Potassium metabisulphite is a popular ingredient to use for early stage sanitization, kind of what I use Star San for. But the main thing that it does is it helps to preserve your wine to help maintain the color, the off tones, especially if you're doing a longer storage on it. The next chemical that we add is potassium sorbate. It's added to wines that have completed their fermentation process and is meant to prevent spoilage, but also to prevent further fermentation of sugars added after fermentation, such as when you back sweeten a wine, which is something that we'll be doing during day 15, so that'll come with part 2 of this video. The next step is degassing your wine, and that's so you can remove any remaining carbon dioxide that has built up during the fermentation process. You want to be thorough when you're degassing, and there's a lot of different tools that you can use. I have a brand new wine whip that you can see here. This is my first time trying it, so I was very excited. If you can see all the bubbles that are being removed by really just agitating the wine, that's the carbon dioxide. Now, degassing is important for several reasons by removing the carbon dioxide. Remaining carbon dioxide will prevent the proper clearing of the wine, so it might maintain a haziness. It can also make the drink carbonated, which is something that works with sparkling, but not something that you want with red wines or really any kind of wine you don't intend to be sparkling. And lastly, carbon dioxide can have an unpleasant impact on the taste of the wine, giving it an off or even acidic flavor. Now what I'm adding now is Kieselsol, which is a negatively charged fining agent. It works cooperatively with Chitosan, which is added on day 15 to help remove haze. I'll go over that a little bit more in the second part of the video. So now that we have our hydrometer and our little wine sample, my husband already helped to kind of take that from you, but this will help you also understand what the general overall alcohol content is going to be. This ended up being 0.996, which is just fine. That's exactly where the kit says it needs to be when the stabilization and the fermentation is finished. And that pretty much covers day 14. You want to go ahead and put your bung in there, and that's going to basically provide you the place to put your airlock. Once you've got the bung set in there, pop your airlock in, make sure you seal it up like before, and that covers day 14. Now day 15 is flavoring and a little bit of more stabilization and clarifying. So at this moment, the flavor pack has not been added to this wine. If you chose not to add it, considering the grapes and the kit and everything that was made with, at this point I've really got about 5 gallons of just a plain Sauvignon Blanc. Now the flavor packet is what's going to help give it that nice cucumber melon flavoring. So you want to shake it up, make sure you have it all mixed, and get any sedimentary or sticky areas all cleared out. Now these flavor packs are what's used to back sweeten any kind of flavored wine kit. Back sweetening is something that you generally want to do with a wine because if you look at the level of my liquid versus the open area towards the top, that's headspace. Headspace is bad. Headspace can cause oxygenation. Hi, Charlie. This is also kind of where the potassium sorbate that we added in yesterday goes in hand because that flavoring pack is mostly just sugar and flavor. And because yeast loves sugar, we add in the potassium sorbate to prevent it from starting fermentation again. Anytime you rack over your wine, beer, whatever alcohol you're messing with, you always want to add a little bit more potassium sorbate to keep fermentation from restarting. So on day 14 we added Kieselsol, and on day 15 we're adding Chitosan. They're used cooperatively as a fining agent. So Chitosan is the positively charged fining agent that kind of goes hand in hand with Kieselsol. Kieselsol, of course, being the negatively charged fining agent. They work hand in hand to prevent and dissipate any haze that might kind of build up within your wine during the process. It kind of does a protein binding which causes it all to drop out. And when we bottle this all, you're going to see on the bottom is a bunch of sediment, which is essentially what the Kieselsol and Chitosan help knock out to make your wine nice looking. So earlier in the video I addressed the problem with leaving all the liquid behind in the bucket because now I've got a lot of headspace, but this actually proved as a good kind of learning point. If you ever need to backfill a wine because you suddenly have a lot of headspace, the best bet is to just get maybe a low quality, just a cheap, whatever you can afford bottle of whatever you're already using. In this case it was a Sauvignon Blanc, so I went to the store, got myself a cheap bottle of Sauvignon Blanc to use to kind of backfill that and reduce the headspace. What you see now is actually pretty in line with what we want. All the wine really needs at this point is a stir, but honestly, I love my wine whip so much that I really couldn't resist using that to give it another stir to mix in the flavors, as well as that Chitosan and Kieselsol combo. And that more or less concludes the day 14 and day 15 steps that you want to make toward putting your wine kit together. I didn't really mention at the beginning of the video, but you always want to be sure to sanitize everything before you start. I sanitized the carboy, I sanitized all my tools. You can see I've got my pitcher in the back, the green colored one. So from this point, all that you really need to do is clean up any kind of flavor pack or simple syrup that you may have spilled over the mouth of the carboy like I did. Once that's cleaned out, just take your bung and your airlock back out of your sanitizing solution, pop it into place, and you are done for the day. From here, you just want to put your carboy in an area where it's not going to be disturbed so it can finish the clarifying process. All that's left now is bottling. So I will see you in 2 more weeks and we'll go through the process of bottling your wine. Thanks for watching!